The show is about to begin.
Hang in there, it is! Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
Featuring Smylie Kaufman.
If you're at a local IHOP at a PGA Tour event, you might see Hideki Matsuyama.
Clear up in the stance, strengthen the grip.
His co-host, Charlie Hume.
We've now picked 5 of the last 8 winners on the PGA Tour.
Oh, just go in the hole. Please go in the hole. Please go in the hole. Please go in the hole. Yes, sir!
And the biggest names in golf.
That's a great question. Can I talk about it?
I don't think I'm ready.
How good does it get, SK?
Why not ask Charlie?
Today, live from the Pinecrest Inn, it's the Smylie Show. So long, everybody.
This is the Smylie Show.
Welcome to a major championship preview edition of the Smylie Show, the final major championship preview edition of the Smylie Show in 2026 for the 154th Open Championship at Royal Birkdale. We've got Smylie fresh off the course doing some preview for Live From on Golf Channel. And Smylie, a little bit of technical difficulties here, but I'm happy to report that in the stop and start nature of the record of the show, it is at a high temperature of 82 degrees Fahrenheit at Royal Birkdale today. It is 85 degrees in my office right now. I've got a large fan here that's really I just blew I think some of my prep off the desk. But I'm less
It's
sweaty
forged
than
by
I thought I was
nature.
gonna be.
It's forged by nature.
I
I mean, what do we? If it's gonna be hot in Birkdale, it's gonna be hot in the office. We're gonna, we're simulate. The
By
environment.
golly, we are simulating the environment. We are forged by. It's windy out there. It's windy in here, and so my apologies if that comes through on the record. I'll try to kind of mute as best I can, but the real indicator is going to be how much sweat appears on this summer of cotton polo throughout the episode. That's how you know how far we are in. Is just how well did I do on the temperature management up here? But hey, look, we're here. We're playing through it. You've got yourself a little iced Americano, and we are going to preview the 4th major of 2026, no matter what else happens here. So
Let's do it, man. Let's get dialed in. I was a bit jet lagged, kind of middle of the afternoon, which wasn't shocking. Got to my hotel at about 11:30 p.m. last night. I had an 8.5 hour. Well, actually, I should start. I had a 4-hour drive from Lake Tahoe to San Fran, 8.5 hour flight. 4-hour drive from London to San Fran. Get here at 11:30. Actually, I was pleased that I woke up at around 7, but I did wake up like every other hour, give or take. So it wasn't a clean sleep, but it wasn't like a 4:30 wake up, which you feel like you always end up having here. So I felt pretty good. Walked the whole golf course. Walked 9 holes with Scotty and Sam. Walked about 4 or 5 holes with Tommy Fleetwood. So I got to see, a lot of these players, or at least not a lot of these players, but enough golf today to get a really good feel for how this place is playing. I don't know if you ever really know exactly how it's going to play. We'll kind of get into just when the ball is on the ground and predicting where it's going to end up and how challenging that's going to be for players and caddies this week.
Let's just start there, because I think for the most part, for most majors, even venues that we're seeing for the first time, but especially for ones we've seen multiple times, you show up at the golf course and you kind of know who the favorites are going to be on any given week. This week, it's truly anyone's guess. And so I feel like the things that we're kind of taking into account here, the variables, the factors are wind direction, which of course is present at every Open Championship. The nature of how baked out this course is. You shared some photos on X of just a very brown looking Royal Birkdale. And then those two things combined, how they're impacting club selection off the tee and what types of these, very treacherous pop bunkers they're bringing into play. And we've heard guys, a number of guys in their press conferences, Wyndham Clark, Jordan Spieth, Michael Kim on Twitter talking about, hey, I'm hitting 3, 4, 5 iron north of 300 yards. And just it's a different sort of total number on any given day or really any given hour. So with all those things in mind, Smylie, does it favor a longer hitter who can hit a bunch of irons? Does it favor a shorter hitter that can compensate for a lack of distance with rollout? Is there a profile coming into play this week at Royal Birkdale?
It's just going to be hard to hit a bunch of fairways, because especially the holes that dog leg at all. those are the ones that it feels like there's a bunker right at the corner at 300, and you're always trying to take that out of play. So you can play this golf course conservative in some spots when you have a wind that's either cross or helping. That makes it a little bit easier and a little bit more predictable. I guess when it gets too down, then it gets a little bit unpredictable with how far the golf ball could roll. But it's just crazy the difference in a hole like number 2, which is it's a 419 yard par 4, and today played downwind. I had Scotty Scheffler and Sam Burns in about the same spot, and I wrote down 7 mile an hour wind, pretty much straight down. They all hit 4 irons, and it rolled out to about 275. And this is when it's at like 5 to 7 miles an hour. Can you imagine when it gets to a gust at, let's just say double it? That golf ball is all of a sudden getting to that bunker I just referenced at 300 yards. And that's kind of what happens out at this golf course, is being able to adjust on the fly. But also on that same hole, you could hit driver on a 419 yard hole and get it into a greenside bunker at 376 yards, which is like completely possible. So you're looking at your book and you're just doing, the best guesstimation that you possibly can with the conditions that are at play. But then you flip around to the next hole, which is a par 4 that's 450 yards back into the breeze. And I watched Sam Burns hit driver about 295. It's like, okay, the difference in just the ball and its rollout in downwind versus into the wind it's just bizarre. It really is crazy.
So there are a number of reasons why that is the case this week. One is, of course, the heat wave that's been going through the UK. It is the reason why we have these brown conditions. There's also been some sort of renovations and changes to the golf course this week that we had. We'll take you behind the curtain a little bit with the production here. We had flyover videos. The stability of the internet connection here is not our best, we'd say, especially maybe the distance across the pond here, Smylie. But I think we could still go through the course if you'd like to, hole by hole, because the RNA put out a great media guide walking us through each hole with Padraig Harrington giving us little blurbs on each one of these holes. So maybe we just run through each one. You give us your notes out of the book, kind of compare those. Maybe on the back end, Jackson, our production wizard, can put something together for us.
Yeah. Before we do that, you mentioned this heat wave here.
Yeah.
It's going to be here the whole week. So the weather, we're not expecting any rain. It's supposed to get hot, a little bit of gusty wind. So the place is not going to get, it's going to continue to dry out and play more firm. But what that also means is that people in the UK can actually start to eat ice cream at an appropriate time to eat ice cream. I don't know if I've told you this, but in past Open Championships, it's been cold, it's been rainy, you've been wet, and then I just look over and these people are in 3 layers eating ice cream, and I'm like, who's eating ice? And I actually asked some fans about it today, and they said, it's just kind of what you have to do. It's when it's summer in the UK, it doesn't matter if it's cold, if it's hot, we're eating ice cream. And I was like, okay, I appreciate that. And those guys, they're literally double fisting ice cream today. It was a perfect day for it.
It sounds like my kind of place.
Yeah.
Give me Guinness and ice cream, and I don't care how many layers I have on. I'm going to be happy. All right, so let's dig into it. So we'll start with the first hole here. It's a par 4, 447 yards. And here's a little blurb from Padraig Harrington. It's a demanding tee shot, and there are 2 choices. You could be aggressive and hit driver, which is what players tend to do when there's nothing on the line. But this is the Open. In the final round in 2008, I stood up on the tee with an iron, and Greg Norman had a driver in his hands up until it was his turn to play, when he switched back to an iron. So
wow.
Something to think about there. So give us your notes on that first hole, Smylie.
Well, it's a fascinating tee shot, and I think one of the ones that it doesn't have like a pop bunker that's staring at you in the face. The only one that you see is one that's 230 yards away that really doesn't feel like it's going to be in play. If anything, for the players that hit iron off the tee, that would be the one that they're trying to avoid, which is actually a pretty brilliant design because that bunker is on the left side of the hole, and it makes you hit it towards what would be a lost ball out to the right.
Atlanta should be the team to step up and secure him.
Yeah, Atlanta's really interesting because they're, much further down the list at only, 8% right now on Kalshi. But this is a team that has constantly come up in terms of GMs thinking, or the reports suggesting that GMs are thinking that Atlanta Braves are the dark horse team to kind of swoop in there and get Skubal. And that's going to be something that, we should pay attention to.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
This is the third time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done.
Yeah.
He's
stop
on
jumping.
He's on the turf, like you said, like he's like driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
The older players in the WNBA going, hey, man, we were here when they were paying us nothing. We were here when we had to go overseas to make a paycheck. You're walking in here, you don't realize how easy you have it. So there is some of that too. But yeah, Jordan got beaten up. Magic got beaten up. Bird got beaten up. Kareem got beaten up. Wemby is getting beaten up, by the way.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
And then I also saw some other players hit driver out of bounds right. So it's one that if you get offline, you can quickly be reteeing at the first hole, which is not fun and very, very daunting. But when we get a west or northwest wind, that's probably the trickiest one. It's a hole that doglegs to the left. So when you get off of the left or in, that's when you really start to think about, if you get some side spin to the right, how that out of bounds could really come into play quickly. So I, for one, would probably be trying to hit one low and chasing it down the fairway and just giving myself, if it's an 8 or 7 iron, fine, like just get me going. I don't feel comfortable hitting driver on that hole, but I'm sure there are players that will.
You already gave us a few notes after watching Scotty Scheffler and Sam Burns at the par 4 second hole, playing 419 yards this year. The notes, we have a quick blurb here from Padraig. It's tough to find the line off the tee on this slight right to left hole. Avoiding the right-hand fairway bunkers is key. It's not all about being gung-ho and aggressive, as a well-placed tee shot can leave an inviting approach. Any other items you want any notes you want to add there in addition to what you shared a few moments ago?
That's such a it's a good way to put it, because it's another one of those tee shots that requires a decision off the tee. Players that I mentioned earlier, Scotty and Sam, decided to hit iron off the tee to try to take the bunkers out of play. Now, that'll be more unpredictable as the week goes on, depending on how firm this golf course gets. But again, it's not like cut and dry as far as like what you see. There's still visual elements that you have to deal with that Royal Birkdale has, which are these dunes that are kind of around this property that add a visual layer that is something that, as a player, feels like you're hitting into hardly nothing of a fairway. And then you think about if it has any type of, even just the slightest bit of dog leg, how that fairway all of a sudden shrinks. So the second hole is a great example of it. Driver, I think it feels like you're hitting into just a slight dog leg left with the driver. And I don't mind the play with driver, to be honest. It's one of the holes that I could see a player stepping up and saying, you know what, I'm just going to send a driver and get it up near the green. Now, especially if it's downwind. But if you start getting some crosswinds there, I think the prudent play is to just try to find an iron and get it in play.
Okay, next hole, the third, a par 4, playing 450 yards this year. Patrick notes are it's a dog leg left to right, but you can't quite see the right-hand side of the fairway. If you can keep the ball in play over the first 3 holes and make 3 pars, it's a very nice start.
Yeah, I definitely I found that tee shot to be a little tricky today. It was back into the breeze. We just talked about the second hole. This one plays in the opposite direction, and it actually plays a little bit higher up too on a tee. So it feels like when you're playing from an elevated tee back into the breeze, it feels like that ball is in the air for a very long time. So if you find this fairway, you've hit a very, very good drive, and if you do. For instance, Sam Burns hit driver and kept it about 5 yards short of the 308-yard bunker. And he was left with, I believe, an 8-iron into the green. So even with a driver off of the tee, he's still hitting a mid-iron into the green that it slopes right to left. So when you have some winds that are going to be off of the left, I think that'll help hold the green a little bit. But still, I think this third hole is a challenging one. It's not going to be necessarily a pushover by any means.
I'll pause here at the par 3 fourth to note that one of the main design changes between 2017 and 2026 was creating more variety in the par 3s, as whether it was a product of the wind direction. 2017 it ended up where a lot of guys were hitting the same club on all 4 par 3s. And Friday Golf did a great Q&A with Tom McKenzie of McKenzie and Ebert, who did this sort of renovation between the last 2 Open Championships. And he had a great quote from that Q&A. It said, "I think delivering the variety of tests in the par 3s is a change I'm most proud of. The introduction of the 15th is a long downwind par 3 where you can actually run the ball into the green, something you couldn't do on any of the par 3s before, then shortening the 7th, playing from a high tee to a tough green. That will be a really, really interesting test on a windy day." So those are 2 par 3s upcoming.
They said you could run it up?
On the 15th. This is not the 4th. Yes, yeah, that was a longer quote. That was a longer quote from Tom McKenzie.
Looking at it, I was like, yeah, if you're in a low running hook, you could run it up there.
No, that was meant to illustrate one of the key goals as part of this sort of change between 17 and 26 was to create more variety. So starting with the first par 3, we'll see the 4th hole. They added a new tee. It's playing 20 yards longer than 2017, now playing 219 yards. And Patrick says this might be a straightforward, simple design for a long par 3, but it can play havoc. If you make par here, you're very comfortable and happy. There's no trickery to this hole at all.
I think it's a tough hole. It's especially like today, it was off of the right, and you couldn't really tell how much it was going to be hurting. And it was, it's when you play links golf, when you start holding shots, and when you get north winds on this property, which we are going to get a north wind for a good bit of this event, 14 of the 18 holes are going to be crosswinds. When you get the east-northeast wind we had today, you're going to get a little bit more up and back. But the north wind is a lot of crosswinds, and this 4th hole was a great example of today being a crosswind that guys were trying to hold. But as the week goes on, I think it's going to play a little bit more into the wind and maybe some left or right. And it's a very, very narrow opening at the front of the green. It's another hole that the players are going to have to hit a variety of shots in their bags. They're going to have to hit wedges off of very, very firm turf. But this 4th hole is going to be one they got to stripe a long iron. They got to step up there, hit it on line, hold the wind. And I think, too, when you think about a really, really firm golf course, you can almost psych yourself into thinking that you're not going to be able to hold a green with a long iron. And so I saw today countless players come up short on this hole because they felt like it was going to land so hard because a long iron is going to come in on a lower trajectory. The greens are firm, but really, because it's going to be playing a little bit more back into the breeze this week, you can actually play it more aggressively into the green and actually try to take on some back flags, because when it's landing on the green back into the breeze, it's actually going to land fairly soft. But it's hard to make yourself make that adjustment where sometimes you're going to be playing 50 yards short of the green, playing a run-up shot. And that's just the nature of this event is, par 3s at times, you might be able to fly something onto the green, like with the long iron, and hold it to some back stuff. But when you get downwind, you're just playing a front number and praying for dear life. So I'm going to tell you that you're being soft here, but 7
iron.
Come on, man.
But I mean, downwind 7 on this hole, 321 yards could leaves you what, like a sand wedge for some of these guys?
Yeah.
Maybe
it's gap
less.
wedge to back pins, lob wedge to front pins. Yeah. It's the play. Like the one thing that I'll say is like I don't like. There's one bunker that's at about 236 yards up the right side of the fairway, and I feel like if that bunker wasn't there, you would get a little bit more variety in what guys could hit off the tee if they wanted to have more of an aggressive layup, where they could hit maybe like a 5-iron off of the tee to maybe get it to where they're in that 60-yard range. Now there's probably like an 8-yard gap in between the bunkers that you're actually working with. So really the only layup option is to play short and left or, push something up to the green because it's so firm. Now, if it was green, I think that you could maybe make a case that you could, play into the next layup area. If you want to kind of look and see what I'm looking at here. But it's this bunker right there.
Yeah, I've pulled up the flyover looking on my screen here, and it's interesting because even if you're laying up short of that left fairway bunker, if they have a front left pin, you still have to deal with those 2 left green side bunkers. Like there's
it's super
can't really access that. Yeah,
that would be the one I actually would lay up to. Is I don't like pushing up to that front left pin because I think it's. If you try to go for the green and you get left and long, I think the front left part of that green is too pitched away from you. But you would be playing back into the breeze potentially, which might be okay. But it's all pin dependent and wind dependent, really. The 5th.
Okay, so let's go to the 6th now. Par 4, 514 yards, which is 15 yards longer than it played in 2017. They added 15 yards to this. It is widely considered the toughest hole on the front 9. Patrick Carrington
because you can't hit the fairway.
It's a big, tough left to right hole, probably the toughest hole in the front 9. Again, make your par and walk off happy. Thanks for the in-depth analysis, Patty. All right, I'm pulling up the flyover. Yeah, I see what you're saying because it's like a very angular left to right dog leg here, and it seems
you have to get lucky
that
at the fairway.
So are guys going to lay up and if you will obviously. They're going to challenge that and really try to kind of cut the corner and then hit that tiny narrow fairway up there. Good Lord.
Well, that's the best option because there's the good thing that they have here at the 6 is that there's a pretty severe uphill slope short of the green that you can either land a ball into or land short of. Watch guys today play from the rough and land it 20 yards short of the green and bounce it up onto the green from fescue eyes. But the reason behind of why you would push it up here is that I think guys are just going to take their chances with a wispy fescue lie. And if you hit the fairway, awesome. But it just you're taking out the bunkers is the most important thing. And so guys are just going to probably be in that right rough a lot. There's a little bit of a ditch that runs through the fairway on the left side. That
I was going to say, is that coming to play if it's a downwind shot?
Yeah, down and off the right, you could definitely get through into that ditch. So the problem is that to fly it into the fairway on a very, very aggressive, like conservative line is 331 yards. So you're just thinking like, all right, if I mishit it at all, I potentially could be not covering the bunkers on the right side. So you really need to hit something hard but everything about this hole screams you need to hit like some type of chippy, spinny cut to hold the fairway. But all that does is bring in the right bunkers. And if you hit a good one and you hit it too straight down the fairway, then you find the bunker on the left. So I think you'll see guys try to either go over the right bunkers or even play up the right and just hope they bounces through the fescue into the fairway. And if it's in the fescue, fine, just play it up onto the green and like Padre say, try to walk away with a 4.
And I'd say as well here too that we apologize for the technical difficulties that are not enabling the more immersive version of this preview. But if you wanted to go to YouTube and go to @GolfRNA and search every hole at Royal Birkdale, you can track along with the videos we're looking at now, so you can kind of see what Smylie and I are talking about in each of these holes. All right, we're on to the second par 3 on the front side, the 7th, playing 151 yards, which is 26 yards shorter than it did in 2017, when they played 177 yards. There's been this is another one of the redesigned holes, a 45-degree change in angle. The tee's been moved to the right side. There's a new green that was raised up a little bit. And the long time, the donut bunker that was a staple, of course, has been restored to its original size. Tom McKenzie's quote here: "Shortening the seventh, playing from a high tee to a tough green will be a really, really interesting test on a windy day." Podrick Harrington says, "Don't be fooled into thinking this is an easy short par 3 and a birdie chance. With 4 bunkers around the green, pin positions tend to be tricky. Never underestimate short par 3.
He gives them a chance, but they've got to keep putting people around him. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know that he's the one that elevates you all by himself. I think he still needs the help. Excellent player, perfect guy to lead your organization, perfect place for it. And by the way, I'd start him from day one. I wouldn't waste any time on it. But got to put pieces around him, and John Spytek has already started doing that.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
This is the third time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done.
Yeah.
He's
stop jumping.
He's on the turf, like you said, like he's like driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latin Nation Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy, crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
On this 414-yard hole, I think you would get it 20, 30 yards short of the green. That's definitely a possibility, but the most difficult part about that is you really don't know where you're aiming. Like, you're aiming in this massive dune area to the right, and you're not exactly positive where the gorse is, and you're not really sure where the right side of the fairway is, and you're hitting back into this fairway at an angle because the dog leg's to the right. So it's a stupid play. If you do it and you pull it off, you're lucky. Good for you. Be great for being committed to your shot, but I think a dumb play.
Okay, let's make the turn now, and we are headed
Wait,
to...
are we getting a hot dog or no?
No. We're getting a sausage roll with HP sauce. Have you had one of those?
No.
You've not had a sausage roll with HP sauce? Oh, man. I'll tell you what, the one I had well, this is not England, Scotland, but I had one at the turn at Kings Barnes, was to die for. But it's like this, it's like a hot dog, that's done in UK style, and then it's like embedded in a puff pastry. And HP sauce is kind of like almost like a British take on barbecue sauce in a way. And you just lather that thing up. Oh man, just ask around over there. It's like,
dude, shout out, by the way, shout out to the RNA and their just fan zones, like all across the golf course, man. They have these food trucks everywhere and all the different types of cuisines, man. They got smash burgers, they got burritos, they had a place that you can get popcorn shrimp. I'm like, there's just all these different options. They got wood-fired pizza, and all the talk about food not being the best over here. These food trucks were bringing the heat, and I was really happy to see that.
But no sausage rolls, huh?
chicken finger stand. I mean, there may be a sausage roll. I just hadn't seen it yet.
That's kind of the thing is like I don't necessarily love that. I kind of like going over there and experiencing their cuisine, getting a little fish and chips, things like that. Yeah, I think we're a little bit too harsh on British cuisine. That's
They're
my
tired
hot
of me
take.
saying, "Can I have some ketchup?"
Yeah,
I say tomato sauce.
Ask for some HP sauce next time.
Yeah,
give it a go. Just want a little side cup to see if you like it.
Noted.
You won't regret it. Noted. And we are on to the back nine. Let's start with the par 4 10, 397 yards. Patty says that the bad miss here is going way right. There's a ton of trouble over there. You tend to agree with that?
Well, this is an interesting hole because today was east-northeast, which I think throughout the week it's going to be a little bit more in off of this tee. So the situation that I'm talking about is probably not going to come out too much based off of the wind being right to left and a touch of help today. Andrew Novak decided to try to hit driver off of this tee today, which if you're standing on the tee and you looked at the line that he took, you would think, where in the world did he just hit the golf ball? Because he was trying to like get it up like at the green. He got up there and he was 30 yards right of the green. That's how far like left you have to go if you want to go at this green. It's a dogleg left. You're going to see a lot of irons off of this hole, especially with the wind. I think probably being a little bit more left or righting hurting, but you're going to have some in and off the right. But it's just another one of those tee shots, man, that you feel like you have to shape something to find the fairway, or at least like you could take all the bunkers out of play, sure, and hit something at that, have it finish at about 235 yards. But then on the next shot, you're going to be playing a little bit more back into the breeze, or even just a little bit across. So it's, how much do you want to bite off and with this dog leg? Do you want to challenge the bunkers? You just want to take it all out of play? And I think that's a question that most guys, I think, will say, you know what, give me the further distance into the hole and let me try to hold an 8-iron into the green.
Okay, on to the 11th, another par 4, 434 yards. Patrick Harrington says it's a dogleg left, and the tee shot is all about avoiding the bunker at the left corner and the 3 bunkers further down on the right. For me, it's a classic Royal Birkdale hole. A good tee shot breaks the back of the hole to provide a birdie opportunity.
That's right.
Your thoughts on the 11th?
It's, gosh, I'm telling you, it reminds me of the 8th hole. And the 8th hole was, had those cluster of bunkers of 3 or 4 bunkers that feel like they're all just connected and that there's 4 yards of fairway. The 11th hole was that. But when you look at the book, that's when you realize that there's a bunker to avoid and a bunker to try to stay short of. And it feels like that's, you try to take out the left bunker and then you try to keep it short of the right bunker. For the most part, that's kind of the theme of a lot of these holes when they have these things clustered out, is you just have to be able to pick a side. And then you just have to trust that you're taking a club that'll stay short of it. But this was a hole today that Joaquin Niemann tried to pull a 5-iron, just keep short of the right bunker at 302 yards and hit it past it.
Wow.
So, yeah. So it's even in that situation, man, it's just wild.
I cannot wait to see some of the run out we get in clubs taken. Like I also, this is a bit of a detour too, but I wonder, we've had 2 things that have been, one announced this week, another sort of a continuation of something we saw at the US Open. One is about fan code based on all the things we saw with Wyndham Clark. And there's like a 5 sort of tenet thing that the RNA's put out. So basically, if you violate any of these things, we're kicking you out, no refund, right? And it goes hand in hand with this sort of this player code of conduct that we saw, like Joaquin Niemann on the topic, get penalized for at Shinnecock Hills, where, he throws a club and there's no previous warning. I believe it's rule 1.2b, where they can assess you a 2-shot penalty. Why do I say all that? Because I just wonder if, given the sort of changing challenge, if we're going to see some frustrated players, like if the pace of play is a little bit slow, like I'm just wondering what we're going to see this week.
I will say, of what will be shown, that I'm going to go with over 2.5 clubs broken this week.
Really?
I think because the ground is so firm. So a normal club toss, I think it just it breaks so quickly. So players need to be watching out for throwing their clubs this week, because I think it'll be like cart path as the club is being chunked into the ground. So over 2.5 for me.
I mean, okay, all right, that's a good line to set.
When you go for this guy, the fishing one,
the caster,
try to throw it with you down the fairway.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, man, that's you're asking for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can imagine how frustrating it would be if I pulled up, if I'm Joaquin Neiman and I have a 5-iron in my hand and I'm trying to stay short of a 310-yard bunker and I'm past it, or I'm in it, I wouldn't be happy either. So, okay, let's
birdie opportunity. But birdie opportunity. Yeah.
At 11, right? You're saying?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, if you find the fairway, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the 12th is our third par 3. It is playing 186 yards this year. 2 of the 4 greenside bunkers, the left pair have been removed, replaced by sort of a tightly mown runoff area. A large dune behind the green has also been removed. Some notes from Tom McKenzie. 12th had 4 bunkers and a square configuration. Most of them weren't really in play for better players, but they made the hole basically unplayable for shorter players. So this actually probably most of this design was for the membership. We felt it was better to guard the right-hand side of the green a bit more stoutly and have a runoff area on the left, leaving arguably a much more difficult recovery shot than a bunker shot. Padraig Harrington adds, it's probably the most exposed hole on the course, with crosswinds often determining club selection. On typical links day, it's a tough hole. Anything to add there, Smylie?
I would disagree with the left of the green being a more difficult shot than a bunker shot, because I think with a golf ball that would be gathering from right to left, that there's a chance that it would probably end up in a wrong side in the pot bunker. But I could understand that the bunker shot potentially being back in the breeze would be easier, but I don't know. It's not that low. Like, I think it's an easy putt from there. The green's doesn't have a ton of movement in it. So I would disagree with that statement, even though over the green is a place that you're trying to avoid. And this is what players were talking about in caddies, that you're basically almost trying to play a front number or something that doesn't go more than 10 yards into this green. And it's not that the green slopes back to front. It's just that being downwind, which is what we're expecting it to be this week, you just can't hold the green. So it's one that potentially is a 160-yard front number that could be playing, somewhere, 145 to 150. So guys are going to be trying to hoist pitching wedges and 9-irons and just trying to get as much height and spin on it. But you have to take long out of play. Long is like almost for sure a bogey. And if you get up and down from back there, it's like very, very impressive. So
drop back to the left-hand ditch. Right-hand bunker shifted to reward 300-yard drives, and that new dune line now separating the hole from the practice ground. It is a 500.
It's a tough tee ball, man.
Four.
13 is a beast, man, because you're hitting it towards the ditch. You're having to play towards that. If you're going to want to try to find the fairway, it's, I think, a tee shot that's going to have some left or right in it. So you're going to be having to, aim even further left to try to keep the ball on line. So it's going to be a real challenge, either to hold that left or right wind. I think you might see some guys hit 3-wood to try to hold a left or right wind, or if you try to hit a chippy, low run and cut, it'll be easy for that ball to end up sliding into the right bunker. And then after that, I think some of the thickest rough and the worst miss on the golf course is right of this green. It's dunes that sit right of the green, but very, very heavy fescue. So I think you'll see tons of players end up in the short bunker and then also the left side of the green, knowing that they can't miss right.
Yeah. It's amazing too, thinking the angle that Jordan was taking, and then when he hits that shot in 2017, he doesn't like it immediately because it looks like it's going right, just barely, just right there next to that bunker, and then a great up and down for bogey. Okay, so the 14th, we'll head to the 14th, which is a new hole. It was sort of composited from the old 15th, the par 5 hole. Golly, I'm stumbling over myself here. 602 yards for this par 5. The old par 5 15th has been shifted a fairway's width to the right and remodeled into the new 602-yard par 5 14th, inheriting the layup area, bunkering, and dramatic undulations of the old hole. 10 fairway bunkers guard the tee shot, 7 on the left, 3 on the right. The old par 3 14th is gone completely. It's now a members practice area. Notes from Padraig Harrington: the old 15th hole has been remodeled. I don't think the players will be scared of the yardage, but it's those 10 fairway bunkers which might scare them. For the shorter hitters or the safety-conscious players, it's a 3-shot hole. Either way, it's a birdie opportunity at a key point in the round.
Not a 3-shot hole.
It's not a 3-shot hole. Is that wind dependent, or are you just saying in general? It just
Alistair Doherty hit a driver 9-iron into this hole today.
Oh, okay. Downwind?
Certainly one into the wind.
Yeah. but I mean, so downwind and firm.
I have this circled in my book. Let's see if you can see it. See what that number says?
I can't.
415 is what it says, and that is to the bunkers off of the tee, and which I can't even believe they even have a number there for us, but I'm happy that they do. But there were a lot of divots just short of that 415 number today. Multiple 400-yard drives. It was straight downwind, and balls that were landing at 315 were rolling close to 80 to 90 yards. And then from there, they had about 185 to the front, and they're only trying to land at about 165, 170. And that's how I end up with a 9-iron in your hand.
Jeez Louise. I mean, that's gettable. I mean, I guess to Patty's point, whether or not it's a 2-shot or 3-shotter, that's the birdie or eagle you need to pick up coming down the stretch. But if you want to kind of get back in this thing or expand your lead.
Here's the challenge, and I talked about this on Live From. I don't know if you saw much of it, but when the wind switches here from potentially on Sunday, which could be west-northwest, it's a 3-shot hole. But it's been a easy get there in 2 this week. So when it gets in off the right, what does that mean? Well, the bunkers that you've been able to cover up the right side, making the hole feel like it's a fairly easy drive, all of a sudden bunkers are now all in play off of the tee. So I think you're going to see some guys struggle with that tee shot. And if you do find the fairway, then you have to figure out where do you lay it up? Because the fairway slopes left and right and kind of crowns in between the next set of bunkers, it's not necessarily easy to find the next fairway on the layup. So this 14th hole, although it could yield some birdies and some low scores early in the week when it plays down on Thursday and Friday, as we get closer to the weekend on Saturday and Sunday, which we expect the wind to shift a little bit more north and westerly, I think then you're going to start to see some players, start to hit in that bunker off of the tee down the left, and then having to deal with the next set of bunkers. And that's like classic, like Open Championship links golf. When you find bunkers off of the tee on par 5s, you almost certainly always have a next set of bunkers that are in your way. it's just when you think it's like, oh, I found like an okay situation, like I'm on a bit of an upslope, I can get it out of this, and then you're like, wait, why do I have to aim 30 yards right because I can't go in that bunker? And that's that, and they're always perfectly placed to be in that like 9-iron, 8-iron range of the layup. So it's you could quickly step on your foot here if you misstep, but it's one that you could get a 90-yard advantage. I talked about that run out. Like you could legitimately gain 90 yards on a player on a drive if you just hit the fairway.
Our last par 3, the 15th, a new hole. It's playing 241 yards. It's been described as Redanish by Jeff Shackelford. Tom McKenzie notes that, while not using that official term, saying
I'm not going Redan.
Yeah, it just, maybe I guess the what Tom McKenzie notes is that you can run that ball up on the front. So maybe that doesn't feel very Redanish to me, but it does feel like there's an opportunity to kind of play it a couple different ways. So you disagree with both? Okay, take it away then.
Well, I guess like the big fall off area to the right makes sense, but I don't see like the run up. I mean, I guess I just don't see guys doing that because there's fescue short to the right. So I just don't see guys trying to do that. Maybe they will, and they'd surprise me. But that if he got like super downwind, I could see that. But we're not expecting it to get super downwind here because it's the southwest is down. I think you're going to see more left or right winds and a little bit more in off of the left. And so I think guys are going to be going for the aerial attack here more. But it's a beast, man. Like I think you're going to see a couple different sets of tees. It played 250 today. Guys were just ripping 3-irons. But I think
and were they holding the green with 3-irons?
Yeah, they were because it was back into the breeze today. Like remember what we talked about earlier about the 4th hole playing back into the breeze? Now, this one has a little bit more working away from you, so a little bit tougher to hold than the 4th hole. And we're only talking about an 8 to 10 yard gap with a 3-iron back into a breeze. Like it's the green. I think it's going to be the most difficult green to hit on the golf course. And
seems
it's going to be a challenge. And it's a really interesting finish to this golf course when you go, especially when you talk about the 13th hole, how challenging that is, the 15th hole, and then the 18th hole. We'll get there in a minute, but just a really good mix of having to hit some long irons, but then also having to hit some like high quality short irons.
He gives them a chance, but they've got to keep putting people around him. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know that he's the one that elevates you all by himself. I think he still needs the help. Excellent player, perfect guy to lead your organization, perfect place for it. And by the way, I'd start him from day one. I wouldn't waste any time on it. But got to put pieces around him, and John Spytek has already started doing that.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
This is the 3rd time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done.
He's on the jumping.
He's on the turf, like you said. Like he's like driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
par round, like it's just hard to force it out there. You'd like this golf course to come to you. And I think some guys are going to make it look easier than others.
Man, so it's like, the guys I have at the top are Rory, Matt Fitzpatrick, Chris Goddard. Like, I guess anyone could play well, but to your point, it's like, it's really tough. It's really tough to know, because you're watching practice rounds, you specifically being out there, and you're seeing guys just try a bunch of different shots. Okay, I'm gonna, like it's like I think five's one with the pawn on the right? Like I'm gonna hit a driver up there. Okay, now I'm in the pawn. Now I'm gonna hit something different, and just you don't know what the strategy is gonna be, and you also don't know what the conditions are gonna be on a given day. So it's hard to profile. Say like this guy's playing the course really well right now, because we don't know how they are going to play the course when you put a tee in the ground on Thursday.
It's like, it's so hard to use this as a good stat, because some of these holes dog leg and you're hitting into a very into an angular small fairway, but distance from the edge of the fairway is a good measuring stick for how straight somebody drives the golf ball. And I think about these key holes, because you can't have big misses on those holes. You have to be somebody that's can step up on a hard tee shot and be able to hit it fairly straight. Like a Fitzpatrick would be a 65% accuracy guy, which is very high for the PGA Tour. So those are the guys that I'm looking at this week that I think would be probably, a better look than somebody who's a 55% accurate guy. Rory McIlroy's kind of in that world, but he's also good enough to be able to find those fairways and hit 3-woods on those holes to make sure that he finds it. And I think he'll make that adjustment. I think Rory's I think he's not going to push it too hard, but that would be the question is does he try to push it too far sometimes, and does that get him into some trouble? But distance to the edge of the fairway, creativity around the greens with short game, and honestly, putting is, like, I know I mentioned the slow greens, but it's also putting like on links style greens when you have a lot of humps and bumps to them.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes like a certain type of player that putts better on those types of greens that have a little bit more slope and kind of humps and bumps to them, where versus other guys who putt better on faster, slopier greens, versus like having hammer putts, and suits guys better than others.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be an interesting one. I mean, I know for our part, I just get me to. I'm debating as to whether or not I'm going to wake up at like 1 a.m. for the first tee shot. We'll see if we'll see if that plan comes to fruition. But give me to Thursday. Let me start seeing how this thing's coming to life.
I got a good story.
All right,
so the year that I played the year I played the Open Championship at Troon, they were teeing off all the guys for whatever reason. They were showing the first tees, and I was teeing off at like 1:30 in the morning or like 2 in the morning. And all my boys like didn't go to the Open, but they decided, all right, we're going to go get a bunch of beer. We're going to go to the bar, and they come back, and we're all going to watch the Open, and we're going to stay up all night and watch and drink. And, I'm like 23 or 4 years old. So like, this is still like normal activity before our friends had kids. So don't judge my friends. And they made it all the way until like 30 minutes out before my tee time. And they just started going down like flies, and they didn't even make it out for the tee shot. So they like all like woke up on the couch, and like my round was over. They're like, dang it, we did it again.
Yeah. Oh, shucks. Yeah. Listen, it's nice. It's easier said than done. Staying up that late, or I guess waking up that early, depending on which way you decide to approach it. So, that's it, Smylie. That's the preview.
Who's your pick?
You
Who
learn
you
a
going
little
with?
bit about the course. Oh man, you give me a lot to think about.
I think I'm gonna go more Morikawa, just because like that's the guy that's coming up for my brain.
Yeah, I think the combination of Fitzpatrick's form and then playing well last week, the Scottish. I keep
I'm with you
leaning
there.
towards him. Yeah, so
I'm with you.
I think Fitz. I think it just yeah. I mean, there are a lot of guys I like, but I think if I had to nail down a pick, I think I'd go with Matt Fitzpatrick.
All right,
so you have it.
I like your Tom
Morikawa,
Kim mention too.
Yeah. Very good. Well, Smylie, we'll be recapping every day our usual major championship journals as soon as you're done with your live from hit. We're back here. I guess people should expect it maybe in the the 5 o'clock Eastern hour ish, maybe 5:30. You can expect to see these episodes out. So stay tuned for those, recapping on a daily basis, and we'll talk to you a little bit later this week.
We'll see you next week on the Golf Channel. This has been The Smylie Show.
I listen to this podcast. It's really cool. And
all of our lovely fans and subscribers, but make sure you like and subscribe.
It's cool to see what you guys are doing. I know golf fans appreciate it, but we do too, so please keep it up.
For all the good people at YouTube, like and subscribe.
You guys have some good takes, so I'm happy to come on and shoot the